Taban?
Professor.
Yeah, you have sent your document for today's class. I have yours. Okay. Can you read that? Can you start?
Okay.
Can you starting? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this.
It's very nice. Yeah. Please, everyone, please hear Taban. Okay, let's go on. Please. Yeah.
Yes. Empathic listening is a structured listening and questioning technique that allows you to develop and enhance relationship with a stronger understanding of what is being conveyed, both intellectually and emotionally. Improved empathic listening by Carl Rogers, a humanistic psychologist, described empathy as a great length. He is careful to make it clear from the one outset that is being empathetic is a complex, demanding, and a strong, yet also subtle and gentle way of being.
Gentle, subtle and gentle way of being.
Yes. You get that when you read the Carl Rogers, 1980, page 143. He describes it as a multi-faceted process rather than a state where the listener is entering the private perceptual world of other and becoming thoroughly at home in it. It involves a moment-to-moment sensitivity of the speaker's feelings and temporarily living within the life of the other without judgment. Another aspect includes being aware of unconscious feelings the speaker may have, but taking care not to divulge something that may be below the speaker's conscious level, posing a threat to them. In addition, the listener is sensing the person's world through fresh eyes, particularly threatening aspects, checking in with the person about what is being sensed. The empathic listener becomes a confident companion to the person in his or her inner world. In order to do so, the listener has put aside subjective views and values to enter in the world without prejudice that accompany them. In instance, lay yourself aside for the time being. Rogers believed this way of being is not for everyone. The empathic person must know themselves well and be solidly grounded enough to avoid getting lost in the other person's strange and bizarre world. According to Convey 2020, there are 4 stages of empathic listening and are outlined as stage 1, which is mimicking content. This is the least effective stage of listening taught in active or reflective listening courses. Stage 2 being rephrasing the content. This is somewhat more effective, but remains limited to the verbal portion of communication. Stage 3 being reflecting feelings. This stage includes not only what was said, but how the speaker feels about it. Stage number 4 being rephrasing content and reflecting feelings. This stage incorporates both the second and the third stage of golden nuggets of communication. Convey describes this stage as giving the speaker's psychological air. Rephrasing content and reflecting feelings draws the speaker closer to the listener, reassuring them they are in a safe space. The barrier between the parties is removed for what Convey described as soul-to-soul flow, which includes trust and vulnerability. Lille 2017 suggests using empathic listening when the topic is crucial, meaningful, or substantial. Empathic listening is also effective when emotions are running high, when either party doesn't feel understood, or when there is no trust in the relationship. And there are 7 tips for empathic listening, which is number 1, being non-judgmental. This isn't always easy, I may say, but letting go of your own opinions brings you to focus on the other person's perspective. Acknowledging the person's views and emotions helps you to help them. This doesn't mean you need to agree with everything the person says. It is about letting them know you care, that they matter. Number 2, give the person your undivided attention. Remove distractions. Ensure that you have the time to spend with the person, and make sure no computers or other devices around, or other devices between you and them. Giving them your full focus, display respect, and a person is more likely to stay calm when they feel respected. Number 3, listen carefully, meaning to feeling the facts. Soak in the words as well as larger view of that individual in that specific situation. Notice tone of voice, body language, and other clues to go beyond the words. Gain insight into emotions. I love how Kim Wakol describes empathic listening when she says, listen with your ears, eyes, and heart. Number 4, show that you are listening carefully. Think about your posture, non-verbal messages, pepper in supportive body language like eye contact, nodding, and other signals as appropriate. Nodding, yes, it's nodding.
Nodding.
And others.
What's
Yes,
wrong?
nodding.
Nodding.
Yes, it catches you, Professor.
Mm.
Nodding and other signals as appropriate to advertise your attentiveness without interrupting. Number 5, don't be afraid of silence. Sometimes all a person needs is to be heard or know you are there. Is to be heard and know you are there. Pay attention to the context and quality of the silence before responding. The individual might be thinking about what to say next, or may need a few silent moments to rein in emotions. Number 6, if you speak, refer to the person's words, ask questions, and clarify comments as needed. Keep that non-judgmental and respectful spirit and give the person time to respond. Remember, there is no script of empathic listening. Respond based on what the person, situation, and moment. You respond based on that. Number 7, follow up. Check with the person to see if they have further questions or comments. We check, yes. Set up other time to meet if needed. When you are, what are ways you listen in your day-to-day life? Which strategies work best for you? Those are things you need to follow up on. Examples of questions to ask your client, just to make it more vivid, clear. More vividly, yes. Before asking your client or the speaker questions, it is wise to be sensitive to their disposition and have a deep awareness of the context. Not all questions are appropriate in every situation. Questions can help the listener focus and convey their narrative. Following examples can help the listener to open up. You seem upset. Do you want to talk? That's the kind of question you have to ask the client. Tell me, what happened? Then the listener can clarify what they had. Ideas include, you sound frustrated. Frustrated can be replaced with emotions such as angry, sad, or fearful. How do you feel about this? How did you react? What did that happen? When did that happen? How did you feel when they said that? What do you think they meant by that? In what way does this bother you the most? What do you do? What do you do when that happens? Do you know why they did that? Have you experienced a similar situation in the past? How did you handle it? What was it that caused you to feel that way? Do you know what they want from you? Some ideas to let the listener know you are there for them will include, what can I do for you? That sounds really bad. How can I best support you? What do you need right now? Those are kind of questions you can ask the client.
Open question.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. You did very good. There are so very good questions to ask your subject. Thank you so very much, Sabang. Also, Precious, I have your document also. Please present that. Okay. No need to explanation, just read slowly and carefully. Yeah. Let's start, please. Yeah.
Yes, Professor. Shaban has covered everything.
I can hear you. Yeah, yeah. Please come close to.
Empathetic listening. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now very good. Yeah, thank you.
Empathetic listening is a communication technique that involves listening with empathy and understanding to another person's perspective. It requires you to be fully present and attentive to what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally. Empathetic listening techniques are often used in therapy to help clients feel, hear, and to help clients feel, hear, and to be understood. I think that's supposed to be. Here are some of the most utilized empathetic listening techniques in therapy. Number one, active listening. These techniques involves giving full attention to the client and using verbal and non-verbal cues to show that you are engaged and interested in what they are saying. A large percentage of the counselor's time is spent in listening, a vital skill for building and maintaining empathy. Demonstrating to each client that the counselor knows and understands them in increasing depth this must be communicated with feeling. Number two, reflective listening. This method involves paraphrasing what the client has said to show that you understand their perspective. This can be a powerful way of developing loving kindness. Indeed, techniques and tools such as gratitude journals and focusing on 3 good things from the last 24 hours encourage us to open up to the positive impact others have had on our lives and create the openness required to develop empathy. And then number 3, clarifying. This technique involves asking questions to clarify what the client has said. Number 4, empathizing. This technique involves putting yourself in the client's shoes and trying to understand their experience from their perspective. Number 4, summarizing. This method involves summarizing what the client has said to help them see patterns or themes in their thoughts and patterns. Therapeutic relationships formed during counseling guide clients to a safe place where they can face, experience, and own their anxiety and upset. And yet they need to experience empathy and acceptance to find the motivation and peace they need to be empowered to make choices and take responsibility. This is by Cochrane and Cochrane in 2015.
Yeah.
Indeed, that relationship is seen as being curative in and of itself, that the therapist's empathy and acceptance promotes breaking of the isolation, validation, strengthening of the self, and self-acceptance. This is by Greenberg in 2011. And yet empathy starts outside the session with how we view ourselves. To have the capacity for empathy, we must not, as counselors, shape who we are based on the person we believe others want us to be. Seeking external validation limits our potential and self-actualization. Valuing ourselves through our being allows us to become who we are, who we want, and create a therapeutic environment and experience for clients to learn naturally and rediscover themselves. Indeed, research reported by the American Psychological Association confirmed that empathy, defined as a sensitive understanding of the patient's feelings and struggles, seeing them from the patient's point of view, is one of the several factors crucial to a strong therapeutic alliance.
Thank you. Thank you, Precious. Thank you. So let's move on to 캐치시에. 캐치시에.
The toilet.
It's not the toilet.
아, 캐치시. She is in toilet.
Yes.
Okay. Please call her.
Hi, Prophet.
Where are you? My God. 캐치시, please do your document. Yeah. I mean,
Finish.
yeah.
Like I said earlier, that I didn't finish.
No problem. No, you just read that.
Okay. According to Miller and Rolnick, 2013, listening is a science-based tool, which is a core skill that does not come naturally to some people. In art therapy, it can be seen as an art, for it requires practice and commitment. That is to say, the more therapy session one engage or the more conversation one hold, the more comfortable they become. Listening is the heart of client-centered counseling. And once it has been mastered, it offers powerful, valuable professional relationship and even in one's personal life. So in counseling, listening is said to be a psychotherapeutic technique in which the therapist listens to a client closely, asking questions as needed in order to fully understand the content of the message and the depth of the client's emotions. For example, in a session, there is a risk assessment stage. And if you are not a good listener, you will not note agent issues that needs to be addressed with immediate effect within the session. Listening in therapy helps build relationship between clients and the counselor as it goes just deeper than just hearing. Instead, you involve cognitive and behavioral processes. When this is done well, it then builds and maintains therapeutic alliances and bonds, which is a rapport, thus creating a healing and growth opportunities. The therapist in a session through listening is expected to give attention to sounds and actions. That is to say, you listen to all communications taking place in the therapy room, that is verbal or non-verbal communication, through making sure that you actively receive the message and interpret it correctly. Whilst listening, the therapist reflects to emotions they hear. The client experiences message of support and encouragement to continue their therapeutic journey. This skill is important for improving in sessions dynamics over unhelpful mindset and supporting transformation. Behind listening is a trust that is useful for clients to explore their own experience and perceptions. That is to say, it keeps people, which are clients, going, thus motivating them to enter uncomfortable, which is their traumatic areas of conversation, and work through a difficult material. When the client feels that she or he is being listened to, they then tend to feel comfortable, laughed, and develop a positive mentality that will make them feel free and at ease to revisit the unconscious, undealt traumatic experiences they have been suppressing for years. This then gives the notion that when our clients are feeling warmth and appreciated through being listened, they become free to allow us counselors to invade their world, thus enhancing their inner listening, which then brings back the connection with the self. Therapists' wise listening are to adopt an attitude of respect and acceptance. That is to say, the client must be respected as separate human beings with rights to their own thoughts and feelings. As counselors, we must suspend any judgment of clients, meaning any goodness or badness of the client must not be compared with the self. Therapists allowing clients to narrate their emotions, feelings, and experiences gives them a chance to develop and grow at their own pace without trying to control or judge them. Thus, by listening, the therapists remain present and available. Empathetic listening. Listening makes us human. It opens us up mentally and emotionally to other people and become concerned and worried for them. In this type of listening, the counselor goes beyond the client's words and fully grasping their emotions. That is according to Crisis Prevention Institute 2026.
Not 26.
I think 2016. 2016.
16, yeah.
It is listening, empathetic listening. It is listening while showing compassion and being willing to share time with clients by being non-judgmental, giving the other person undivided attention, by listening carefully to feelings and the facts while sitting comfortably with silence and using nonverbal messages to show you are listening and understanding. Empathy is a helpful tool in art therapy for facilitating self-exploration. Thus, when used in communication within therapy, it becomes powerful. It involves reflecting back the emotions we hear, thus showing understanding, and encourages the speaker, which is the client, to share more by validating them without judgment. This type of listening requires the counselor to suspend biases and ego, thus showing that you are listening to understand, not to reply. Empathetic listening requires vulnerability for both the client and the counselor. The speaker leaves themselves open to challenge or ridicule, as it is not all one-sided. Thus, the listener may also feel some of their hurt and pain. This is a skill, empathetic listening, it is a skill that not only helps and serves others, but it also conditions us to become more compassionate, patient, and nurturing people. It takes us out of the tendency towards self-absorption and self-interest, but connecting us intrinsically with the world around us. So when we listen with empathy, one develops new points of view, new perspective and insights, and at the same time foster connections that confers trust and respect. When listening empathetically, one learns about people and thus develop an understanding of those they listen to, thus dispelling their initial judgment and open up opportunities to rid themselves of bias. These skills help connect with people at deeper, meaningful level, revealing themselves to show their vulnerabilities, hopes, joy, fears, and excitements in life.
Yeah, very good. Revealing themselves to show their vulnerability, hopes, fears, joy, and excitement in life. That's why we are doing logo artwork, you see. It's the empathetic listening is the one of the good tool for the artwork also. So Vasali Shille and patience is not ready to read. So now I'm going. I wish you all. Please you to summarize based on the content of empathetic listening, then you have read and heard today. And now I am going to say you what time is 9:34. Okay, we have 1 hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. Let us do logo writing. Yeah. I want you all to think deeply in the remaining time from now on. How can I listen sympathetically? Can you understand? Sabah?
You can come again.
Yeah. How can I listen sympathetically? How can I listen sympathetically? Think about it and write correct. Yeah. Title is the How Can I Listen Sympathetically? I'll give you 20 minutes. Yeah. You just writing. How can I listen sympathetically? How can I be sympathetic listener? Please start writing. How can you listen sympathetically? The title is How Can I Listen Sympathetically? How could I be good listener? Yeah, I'll give you 20 minutes. Now please starting writing How can I be good listener? How can I listen sympathetically?
You can't be a good listener if you listen as sympathetic. That's fine. I'll sympathize.
Yeah,
Sometimes-
sympathetically. Therapeutic listener. How can I be sympathetic
Professor.
listener? Yeah,
Tabang has a question.
yeah. You go, keep going. Yeah. Any question?
Yes. Sympathetically or empathetic?
Both, both. Empathy
Both.
and sympathy, both. Yeah,
Both.
yeah,
Both.
yeah.
Okay.
I want you to think deeply in the remaining time.
Sympathetically and empathetically, both. You can write. Yeah. There is some difference between sympathy and empathy, as you know already. Yeah. I'll give you 20 minutes. Let us start.
Now, after 20 minutes, we will see input how I will listen.
Finish writing. Hello. Do you finish?
Hi.
Do you finish it?
Sabah, yes. You
Yes.
finished.
Yeah.
Sabah is done.
Finish, Saban?
No, I'm still writing, Professor.
Okay. Yeah, I'll wait.
But Kenzie was finished.
Ketchia is finished?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I have Ketchia's. After 3 minutes, we'll be started presenting. Okay.
And the skimming and skimming.
Okay, let us start it. Now I have precious writing. She has very good writings. Precious, please read that. She understands very well about the sympathetic or empathetic listening. Yeah.
Right. Should I read? Should I read?
Yeah. Now.
Oh,
Yeah.
as how to listen empathetically and sympathetically. Number one, as a concept, I would apply the technique of active listening by paying attention to what the client is saying, asking questions when appropriate, and reflecting back on what I have heard. Number two, I would also reflect back on what the client has said in my own words. This will help me clarify any misunderstandings and show that I am listening. And number three, I would also apply non-verbal cues, such as nodding my head, maintaining eye contact, and using special expressions to show that I'm engaged in the conversation.
Very good understanding. Thank you, Precious. You did very well. And let's move on to Sandeka. She also doing. Sandeka, I have yours. Please read. Yeah.
I listen empathetically and sympathetically. Sympathy is feeling bad for someone, especially because of something that has happened. To be a sympathetic listener, one needs to feel how the subject is feeling, Mention how sorry you are and pay attention to the subject. In empathetic listening, the subject leads the conversation. The therapist is sensitive to the subject's emotion and responds to the context. Ask open-ended question and give the undivided attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You did very well. Santeka is also well understanding of good listener. As a good listener, she is doing very well. I think so. And let's move on to patience. Did you finish? Okay. Let's read patience. Yeah.
Firstly, as a counselor, I need to be non-judgmental by acknowledging person's views and emotions, whereby you let them know that you care. Secondly, by giving your subject an undivided attention. By that, I mean, as a counselor, you pause whatever you are doing once your client enters your office, close your computer, pay all attention to your client in order to be able to hear all that your client was saying or wants to say. You need to show your client that you are listening carefully, and this can be done by nodding your head, maintain eye contact. Also, the subject has to lead the conversation by not interrupting. Thank you.
Yeah. Let the subject lead the conversation is the key. Yeah. And also, open question is the key of the sympathetic listening. Yeah. And let's move on to 바살리실레. Do you finish?
Okay. No, not yet. I'm still writing.
Okay. No problem. Let's move on to 캐치시에.
Oh, I'm going.
Still
So
going?
in order for me to listen sympathetically, I need to be culture competent and culture sensitive. Suspend my own values. This then will help me from being ethnocentric. Also, whilst listening, I need to listen without being judgmental, but focus on the feelings and emotions of the speaker so that I can be able to process the feelings and the emotions. I need to provide support. I need to provide support that person needs. I also need to understand how they are really feeling, not what they say they are feeling. And also ask open-ended questions.
Yeah, very good. That is very important thing. I need to understand how they are really feeling, not what they say they are feeling. Yeah. How they are feeling is the key. You see? There's no fine answer of sympathetic listening. Yeah. We have to focus on TPO. TPO means, what is TPO? 캐치시에.
Person-centered approach.
Yeah. T means time. Time. P means place. O means occasion. Yeah. We should focus subject TPO. You see?
CPU.
TPO.
Oh, TPO.
Yeah. TPO. Time, place, occasion. Okay. And let's move on to Sabang. Do you finish?
No, Professor. But can we do
Yeah.
one?
No problem. Yeah, you can.
Great.
Yeah. And 바살리실레 is still.
I'm still typing, Professor.
You okay?
How
Okay,
can-
Sabang, please. Yeah.
How can I listen sympathetically? I think being a present and caring listener takes a practice, because you need to give support, encouragement rather than advice or criticism. And I will do that by creating a comfortable space for sharing, acknowledge the speaker's feelings, pay attention to the body, and guide the conversation, wait to speak, and be encouraging.
Yeah, very good. We have to pay attention to subjects, behavior, wording, and feelings. See? There's no need to advise, no need to support and encouragement. Yeah, you see, you just listen.
Yes.
Yeah,
just
that is
listen.
key. Yeah. You should remember that. Let's move on to 바살리실레. Patience, 바살리실레's work. Yeah, please.
Okay, in order for me to be an empathetic listener, I will listen my clients without judging them and acknowledge their views and emotions. This could be accepting them for who they are and accepting everything that they tell me. I'll also give my clients attention, making sure that they see that I am listening to them and following what they are saying. This could be through using body demonstration, which is nodding when they are talking. However, I will also take notes and follow both verbal and non-verbal communication.
Yeah.
That's my client's way to me. And again, I will also show respect whenever my clients are sharing information with me. This could be through not disturbing them or interrupting them when they talk to me.
Yeah. 바살리슬레 is mentioning very key. We should respect the subject. Yeah. It is also very important thing to sympathetic listening. Yeah. As an educator or counselor, we should respect our subject's feelings, thoughts, wording also. Yeah. Very good. Do you need a break or not? Hello, my student. Do you need a break time?
You can play the video, Professor.
Okay. I play video. Please wait. I am not. Dr. Kim is coming. There's Dr. Kim. Is there Dr. Kim here?
Let me go and she's
Not
not
yet?
around.
Not around yet. Because
Did she say that she's coming?
yeah.
Oh, then she's still on her way.
She told me she will come and she will download that book for you all. Yeah.
How about you want to go home?
Very tight.
I'll give you 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Many years ago, I realized how powerful it was to listen to a person.
Can you
In
see?
recent months, I've been working on a paper trying to take a fresh look at the power of listening, at the power of an empathic way of being. And that's what I want to talk to you about.
Can you see?
We watch this one.
Okay,
we
let
could
us watch.
re-examine and reevaluate that very special way of being with another person, which we call empathic. I believe we tend to give too little importance and consideration to an element which is extremely important in the understanding of personality dynamics and for affecting changes in personality and in behavior. I think it's one of the most delicate and potent tools that we have, and I'm impressed at how rarely we see it in real life situations in any full-fledged form. I guess I'll start with my somewhat faltering history in relation to this topic. Very early in my work as a therapist, I discovered that simply listening to my client very attentively was an important way of being helpful. So when I was in doubt as to what I should do in some active way, I simply listened. And it seemed surprising to me that such a passive kind of interaction could be so useful. And a little later, a social worker whom I hired, who had had a background of Ronkian training, was really most helpful to me. She helped me to learn that the most effective response, the most effective listening, was where you listened for the feelings and emotions that were behind the words, that were just a little bit concealed, and where you could discern a pattern of feeling behind what was being said. And I think she's the one who first suggested that the best response was to reflect these feelings to the client. And reflect is a word that later made me cringe, but at the time it really was very helpful to me in my work as a therapist, and I was very grateful to her. I felt I learned a great deal from her. She learned very little from me. Then came my transition to a full-time university position, where with the help of students, I was finally able to scrounge the equipment for recording our interviews, a dream I'd had for a number of years. And I just can't exaggerate the excitement of our learnings as we clustered about the machine, which enabled us to listen to ourselves playing over and over again
No longer audible. We can't hear.
Professor.
Professor, maybe you turn on the video. Professor. Professor.
by one particular response.
What's wrong?
So in such a,
I am not audible.
it became quite natural that we focused upon the content of the therapist's response
I can hear
rather
you.
than upon the empathic quality of the
Okay,
listening.
now, Professor.
No longer particularly apologize for that.
Had muted it on your side, so
Step in
it's
our
fine now.
learning.
Can you
To this
texting?
extent,
Can
we
you
became
texting through
very much
WhatsApp?
conscious of the techniques
Okay,
that the
Professor.
counselor or therapist was using. We became really expert in analyzing in minute detail. I can remember sitting around with students and picking apart sentences and particular phrases and words. And And we profited a great deal from that very microscopic study of the interview process. I think we gained a great deal from it. But this tendency to focus on the therapist's responses had consequences which appalled me. I was meeting considerable hostility as to my point of view, and that really didn't seem to bother me. But this kind of thing did bother me, because the whole approach came in a few years to be known as a technique. Non-directive therapy, it is said, is a technique of reflecting the client's feelings, period. So then you've taken care of non-directive therapy. Or even worse, an even worse caricature was simply that in non-directive therapy, you just say back the last words that the client said. And really, I was so shocked and appalled by that complete distortion of our approach that for a number of years, I said almost nothing about empathic listening. And when I did, it was to stress an empathic attitude with very little comment as to how that attitude might be implemented in the relationship. I just became frightened of the distortion. I preferred to discuss the qualities of positive regard and therapist congruence, which I'd come to hypothesize as being two other conditions that were growth promoting in a relationship. And those concepts were often misunderstood too, but they never came to be caricatured in the same way that the empathic listening was caricatured. Mm-hmm. Over the years, however, the research evidence keeps piling up, and it points strongly to the conclusion that a high degree of empathy in a relationship is possibly the most potent factor, and certainly one of the most potent factors, in bringing about change and learning. And so I believe it's time for me to forget the caricatures and misrepresentations of the past and take a fresh look at empathy. For still another reason, it seems timely to do this. In the United States during the past decade, many new approaches to therapy have held center stage. Gestalt therapy, psychodrama, primal therapy, bioenergetics, rational emotive therapy, transactional analysis are some of the best known, but there are more. And part of their appeal seems to me to lie in the fact that in most instances, the therapist is clearly the expert, actively manipulating the situation, often in dramatic ways, for the client's benefit. But if I read the signs correctly, I believe that there is some decrease in the fascination with such expertise in guiding people. With another approach that is based on expertise, however, behavior therapy, I think there's no doubt that the fascination with that approach is on the increase. And I think I can really understand that. I think a technological society has been delighted to find a technology by which man's behavior can be shaped even without his knowledge or approval toward goals that the therapist chooses or that have been chosen by society. And yet, even here, much questioning by thoughtful individuals is springing up as the philosophical and the political implications of such an approach become more clearly visible. So I've seen a willingness on the part of many to take another look at ways of being with people which evoke self-directed change and locate power in the person, not in the therapist. And this brings me again to examine carefully what we mean by empathy and what we've come to know about it. To formulate a current description, I would want to draw on the concept of experiencing as formulated by Gene Gendlin. Briefly, it's his view that at all times there is going on in the human organism a flow of experiencings to which the individual can turn again and again as a referent in order to discover the meaning of what he is experiencing. He sees empathy as pointing sensitively to the felt meaning which the client is experiencing in this particular moment. In order to help him focus on that meaning and to carry it further to its full and uninhibited experiencing. An example may make more clear both the concept and its relation to empathy. A man in an encounter group is making some vaguely negative statements about his father. And the facilitator says, "It sounds though you might be angry at your father." "No, I don't think so." "Dissatisfied with him?" Perhaps." "Disappointed in him?" Yeah, that's it. I am disappointed in him. I've been disappointed in him ever since I was a child because he is not a strong person. I think that kind of an example, does illuminate Chandler's concept in this way. Against what is the man checking these various terms? Angry? No, that isn't it. Dissatisfied? Well, that's closer. Disappointed? That matches the flow of, I think, visceral experiencing that's going on within. And a person has a very sure knowledge of that flow and can really tell when you're speaking to it. In other words, the right word taps the right label or the right phrase often taps the exact meaning of the flow that is going on within him that he hasn't been able to label or understand himself. It enables him to bring into awareness the real meaning of what's going on within. So with that conceptual background, I'd like to attempt a description of empathy that would seem satisfactory to me today. I would no longer be terming it a state of empathy, which was in my earlier definition, because I believe it to be a process rather than a state. And perhaps I can capture that quality. The way of being with another person, which is termed empathic, has several facets. It means entering the private perceptual world of the other and becoming thoroughly at home in it. It involves being sensitive moment to moment to the changing felt meanings which flow in this other person, to the fear or rage or tenderness or confusion or whatever that he or she is experiencing. It means temporarily living in his life, moving about in it delicately, without making judgments, sensing meanings of which he is scarcely aware, but not trying to uncover feelings of which he is totally unaware, since this would be too threatening. It includes communicating your sensings of his world as you look with fresh and unfrightened eyes at elements of which he is fearful. It means frequently checking with him as to the accuracy of your sensings and being guided by his responses. You are a confident companion to him in his world. By pointing to the possible meanings in the flow of his or her experiencing, you help him to focus on this useful type of referent, to experience his meanings more fully and to move forward in his or her experiencing.
Okay, please wait. I'll upload one more file for you. This is remaining document of the Carlos. Please wait.
In his or her experiencing. Now, to be with another in this way means that for the time being, you lay aside the views and values that you hold for yourself in order to enter his world without prejudice. In some sense, it means that you lay aside yourself, and this can only be done by a person who is secure enough in himself that he knows he will not get lost in what may turn out to be the strange or bizarre world of the other, and can comfortably return to his own world when he wishes. Perhaps that description makes clear that being empathic is a complex, demanding, strong, yet subtle and gentle way of being. I think now I'd like to move on to ask the question, what have we come to know about empathy through research? The answer is that we've learned a great deal. And I'll try to present some of these learnings, giving first some of the general findings, which were of interest to me, but I'm going to reserve until the latter part, the analysis of the effects of an empathic client on the recipient, because I think there's a lot to be said about the effects that it has on the recipient. But here then are some of the general statements which can be made with some assurance. I'm going to put them all as though they were knowledge quotes. But we all know that research knowledge is limited to the population which was studied, the various qualifications. All of those qualifications should be made in regard to each of the rather blunt statements that I'm going to make. First of all, we know that the ideal therapist is first of all empathic. In a study of therapists to get them to formulate their concept of the ideal therapist, and these were therapists from I think at least 8 different orientations in therapy. Empathy was placed in the very highest rank out of 12 possible variables. And the definition of empathy was similar to that used in this paper. And it corroborates a much earlier study by Fiedler done many years ago. So we may conclude that the thing that most therapists are trying to do, their highest priority, is to be empathic. Now then, another statement I'll make very briefly is that it's been learned that a high degree of empathy in a relationship is associated with various aspects of process and movement in therapy. There is a clear correlation between the degree of empathy in the relationship and the measures of process or progress through therapy. Then a finding which is exciting to me and I feel hasn't been adequately exploited is that the degree of empathy which exists and which will exist in a relationship can be measured and determined very early in the game. In therapy interviews, it can be determined certainly by the 5th interview. The German research says it can be determined in the 2nd interview, and that's very closely related to the success or lack of success in the total relationship. And to me, that's an exciting finding because it means that perhaps we could save enormous amounts of time if we determined by some objective measure the empathic quality of a relationship early in the game, so that we would know whether it had any high probability of success or not. If you find a highly empathic quality in a relationship, it is highly probable that the therapist is the one who is responsible for that. And one finding that is a little bit hopeful but also expected is that experienced therapists offer a higher degree of empathy than inexperienced. It is only to say that maybe over the years, therapists do come a little closer to being the ideal therapist they would like to be. Then quite important finding is that the better integrated the therapist is within himself, the higher the degree of empathy that he exhibits. Personality disturbance, various kinds of adjustment problems tend to be correlated in the therapist, tend to be correlated with a lower degree of empathic quality in the relationships that he offers. And as I've considered this evidence and also my own experience in the training of therapists, I come to the somewhat uncomfortable conclusion that the more psychologically mature and integrated the therapist is as a person, the more helpful is the relationship he provides. I say that's kind of an uncomfortable conclusion because it really, I don't know, throws out a challenge to all of us who are in the helping professions. If we're no better as helpers than we are as people, that's which it seems to me this is somewhat saying. That's a sort of sobering thought. Then another quite exciting and also sobering finding is from a study by Raskin. Let me describe it briefly. He got interviews from 6 experienced therapists. If I named their names, you would recognize all of them. I don't know if he's going to publish the names, so I'm not going to name them here. From 6 different orientations. Each therapist selected an interview which he regarded as characteristic and typical of his own work and submitted it for this research purpose. And Raskin picked a large segment of each of those interviews to be rated by 83 therapists of, I've forgotten, 8 different orientations. So that here was the actual therapeutic work of 6 experts being rated by a large number of mostly experienced therapists, some inexperienced, but mostly experienced therapists. And the findings are, well, yeah, 2 findings. One is interesting. It is that the degree of empathic quality in those relationships varies enormously. For the statistically minded, it's at a 0.001 level of significance, the difference in the degree of empathic quality. The other finding is that he correlated the ratings of the 6 expert therapists with the ideal therapist that had formerly been formed from the judgments of these 83 therapists. And there it is sobering. 2 of these well-known therapists correlated positively with the ideal. 4 correlated negatively, 1 at a minus 0.66. Now that, in the paper I say, so much for therapy as it is practiced. It is a very sobering thing to think that possibly we are that far from what we would like to be as therapists. And the next finding then is not surprising at all. It is that therapists are quite inaccurate in assessing the quality of their own relationships. I won't go into the complicated reasoning, but there's good evidence that both clients and unbiased raters are better judges of the empathic quality of the relationship than is the therapist himself. The practical implication would be that if we want to know whether we are understanding our clients, we should let them tell us.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah, have you heard well?
Yes, Professor.
Could you run? Could you run from Carlos? He is a big and great founder of the human-centered therapy. See? Today, now, I'm going to finish your very meaningful class time today. Yeah, how do you think? Sabang? Now I can see Sabang and Precious too. How do you think of this class today?
Precious.
No, so far.
Yeah.
It's a little bit cold. Actually, it's very, very cold this side today.
Oh, really? I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Very cold today.
Yes.
I'm sorry about that. Oh my God. Oh,
Very cold.
why is that cold now?
Yeah, the
Rainy
season
today?
change.
It's rainy today?
It was drizzling.
Drizzling. Yeah, I see. I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
But then,
Yeah.
nonetheless,
Mm.
we have touched the gist of counseling because
Yeah. Yeah.
more especially when it comes to human-centered counseling, we need to be empathetic,
Mm.
you know, so that you can meet a mutual feelings. So for the better understanding of what the client is going through, and it's so encouraging because it does build the relationship between you and your clients. So during that process, trust is developed because trust is so much important when it comes to counseling, because the client can say whatsoever is bothering the client without any fear or what, but can be all very, very openly and share exactly how the client feels and what is going through on by so doing so, the clients can heal and you can able to assist the client to come with the solution to problems.
Yeah. Good understanding. And you should silence thought.
Yes.
Yeah. That is very key today also. How about Precious? What did you learn from Carlos?
Okay, today the class about listening and empathy, I learned that how much we need to cultivate empathy as counselors, because empathy is at the core of counseling or therapy, really, because there's something that right now when we're watching the video that Carl just said, which I felt that it really forms the foundation of counseling. And when he said that the degree of empathy is closely related to the success of the results in therapy. I felt that was very key, and how much empathy is pillars the whole therapy session with the clients. So I felt like we have like a homework for us as counselors to learn to cultivate empathy and how important this empathy is. And how the way he said it, also that the degree of empathy in those relationships, it means the success of the therapy. So I learned that today. Yeah.
Very good learning, very good understanding. Thank you. So now I'm going to finish this class, and I hope that all of you will complete the assignment. Can you understand? Today's assignment is not yet finished. Do you understand? Yeah. And tomorrow, Sunday class, as I mentioned already, I'll connect with Zoom at your home. You can link Zoom at your home, and we'll continuously doing group logo at tomorrow. Yeah. Now, I'm going to say goodbye today. For me, it's good night. Oh, bye bye. Bye bye, Santeka. Bye bye. 마살리실래? Yeah, bye bye. 마살리실래? 마살리실래? Take care. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, please. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye, Santeka. Bye bye. Yeah. Take care of all. Yeah, bye bye.
something and represent
Oh. What? Do you have any question? Ketchishia? If
We
you have
will-
any question, please texting. Texting me.
Yes, they will text it. Tabango will text it, the professor,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah. I'm fine. Okay. Be well. Bye bye.
Hello, 1, 2, 4.
Yeah, I love you.
Professor,
Yeah.
okay, tomorrow you said we're starting class at 1, 1:30. Is it 1:30? CA time.
It's up to you, Ketchishia. I wish you will discuss and decide that time. How about 2 p.m.? 2 p.m.? 2 p.m. is so.
For how long? Yes, for all of us. For how long, Professor? How long?
Tomorrow it must be 4 hours, 3.5 hours. Yeah, it will be.
Okay, it's okay, Professor. Enjoy. Bye. Good night.
Good night. Oh no, good.
11.